He felt no sympathy for the man. In fact, he kind of relished the moment the bones in his head finally shattered. The moment the battle was won. There was always a moment, right when a victory was yours, elements set in motion that could not be stopped, that was magic. The action had been done, but it wasn't complete. The bullet was in the air, the bomb was falling, or your weight was dropping with an off-balance opponent, if you preferred judo analogies. Nothing but the intervention of a supernatural force could change the outcome. You had already won, but the moment of success hung in the space of no time. Those were the moments a warrior takes to his grave. You only get milliseconds to recognize them, but you savor them forever. An imposter had tried to play Spartan with a real one. That outcome was decided years in the past. Mike cut the toe boxes off the boots, improvising half sandals. Not ideal, but it would work for now. Laying back in his nest of sulfur, he thought about how he had arrived here. No doubt he had been drugged back at the bar. No point in kicking himself over that one. Not exactly a common occurrence, and he didn't have an enemy within 1,000 miles 24 hours ago. He had been brought here for some kind of twisted hunting fantasy by a crew that had done this before. Mike wondered if they knew who and what he was, if that was the reason they chose him. Doubtful. So far, this crew didn't seem like it could pour piss out of a boot with directions printed on the heel. A 10-minute head start and they would never have a prayer of catching him. Finally, his thoughts turned to his miraculous survival. Training and experience counted for a lot in staying alive, but pure dumb luck was the only reason he was still breathing. That was a common enough life experience for him. He had buried a lot of friends and teammates that were stronger, equally or better skilled, and more experienced. Skills matter, but the longer he was in it, the more combat seemed an awful lot like a dice roll. A 39-cent bullet from an AK will kill the hardest bastard in SOCOM just as dead as a new private. You stack the odds as much in your favor as you can, but you only have to get unlucky once. Mike had a pistol holster with a bullet hole in it once, a fact he didn't notice until his tour was over. 2 inches had been life and death at some point in the last 6 months, and he didn't even know it. Like most soldiers of his era, the professional ones at least, the lifers, belief had turned into a mixed bag of mythology. Everyone he knew thought they were going to Valhalla, himself included. Ben Bittner's final wish had been to be cremated, his ashes stored in a can of blasting caps, which his wife had honored. Mike had only known one god in the last 20 years, the god of war. He was an unforgiving, cruel bastard, but Mike and his kind followed him anyway. Even with friends dying face down in the sand on a regular basis and the really unlucky ones returning maimed and burned, they kept going back. Mike couldn't imagine a world where that wasn't his task. And one day, they came in and took it all away. He didn't bleed out in some faraway hellhole or turn into pink mist in an IED. The powers that be just decided he was unfit, handed him a pink slip and a retirement check, and turned back to the job. Enjoy being a civilian. Don't bother to write or call. We have things to do. An epiphany exploded into Mike's brain. He knew why he was here. The war god had kept him alive all that time and brought him here to use him one last time. It wasn't to punish the cruelty of these men or right the wrongs they had done. Policemen are for that, and the war god doesn't care. They needed to be destroyed because they were false warriors, sniveling, worthless wannabe soldiers. And in this soft land, they were getting away with it. They were stronger than the simpering weaklings around them, no doubt. That wasn't a high bar. Their failure had been to pretend to be disciples of the god of war when they were not. And so he had put one of his favorite sons among them to punish them for their sins. This was a heady revelation to Mike. It took him some time to grasp the gravity of his task. Finally, a mission, a reason to exercise his skills and talents. He was giddy like closing the hotel door with the prom queen in tow. It was time to make the imposters pay, and pay dearly. Quickly drafting a plan in his head, he set off the way he had come, backtracking. Along the way, he kept an eye out for a straight 6-foot limb. As the sun was breaking the horizon, he located the camp where he had been captive. Selecting the side where he could see a sentry standing inside a tent flap, he curled up in a bush to wait. Like astronauts and fighter pilots, people from